Did she really say, "Let them eat cake"? How did a 14-year-old girl become the symbol of an entire nation's hatred? How does a princess fall from royal palaces to the blade of the guillotine? Was she truly a wasteful and indifferent queen, or simply a misunderstood young woman? Who was the real Marie Antoinette? Her story is not just that of a queen. It is the tale of a crown weighed down by loneliness, of luxury overshadowed by death, of riches wrapped in fear. Fact 1. She was an Austrian archduchess. Marie Antoinette was born on November 2nd, 1755, in Vienna, the capital of Austria, into the powerful House of Habsburg. Her full name was Maria Antonia Josefa Johanna. She was the 15th and youngest child of Empress Maria Theresa, one of Europe's most formidable female rulers, and Emperor Francis the Long. Before she became Queen of France, Marie was raised in the heart of a grand empire, within the opulent, deeply political, and religiously devout atmosphere of the Austro-Hungarian court. Though she held the title of princess, her role was mostly symbolic: to look graceful, act with aristocratic poise, and one day secure a powerful political marriage to strengthen the empire. In that era, princesses received only basic education. Marie's schooling was limited, mostly focused on music, dance, religious instruction, and the French language. Yet she had a natural gift for music, learning to play the harpsichord and cello. In fact, the young Mozart himself once performed for her. Fact 2. She became Queen of France at just 14 years old. Even as a child, Marie Antoinette's fate had already been sealed to become the bride of Europe's most powerful monarchy. At the age of only 14, she was married off to Louis Auguste, heir to the French throne, in a strategic political alliance. But this was far more than a royal wedding. It was a carefully calculated move to end centuries of hostility between the Austrian Habsburg Empire and the French Bourbon dynasty. Leaving Vienna in a grand bridal procession, Marie crossed borders not just in geography, but in life itself. She would never again see her homeland or family. Awaiting her in Versailles was not affection or comfort, but rigid court protocol, immense pressure to produce an heir, and a deep sense of suspicion from her new people. To the French, this young Austrian girl felt foreign. They called her cold, distant, and out of touch with their values. Her French was imperfect, her understanding of politics was limited, and she was utterly unprepared for the cutthroat intrigues of the French court. Yet despite all this, she was now the Dauphine, the future Queen of France. At an age when most girls still dream of childhood games, Marie Antoinette was being watched constantly. How she walked, how she dressed, how she smiled. She had to learn how to be a queen, but queendom for her meant isolation, pressure, and living in a world she had never asked for. Fact 3. She was never loved by the French people. From the moment Marie Antoinette arrived at the French court, she was seen not as a queen, but as an outsider. To the French people, she was cold, foreign, and untrustworthy. Her Austrian roots reminded them of long-standing enmity, and many viewed her not just as a monarch, but as a symbol of the enemy living within their palace walls. What made matters worse was her extravagant lifestyle. While the people of France starved in the streets and suffered under crushing poverty, Marie Antoinette was throwing lavish balls, wearing gowns worth fortunes, and living in unimaginable luxury at Versailles. To a nation in crisis, her elegance looked like arrogance, her silk dresses like mockery. Propaganda spread quickly. Rumors turned to legends and legends into public rage. Scandalous pamphlets accused her of every sin imaginable: infidelity, greed, treason, even witchcraft. She became a scapegoat for a crumbling system. Within the palace, she was the target of relentless political schemes. Beyond the palace walls, she became a figure of hatred. France, both physically and emotionally, had turned into enemy territory for its own queen. In the end, Marie Antoinette was not just isolated by the court. She was abandoned by an entire nation. There was no admiration, only loneliness. No crown heavy enough to protect her from the weight of that rejection. Fact 4. She never said, "Let them eat cake." The truth behind the famous quote, the most famous and most misunderstood quote linked to Marie Antoinette, is, "Let them eat cake," For centuries, it's been used as a symbol of royal arrogance and detachment. But here's the truth. Marie Antoinette never said it. Historians agree that these words were falsely attributed to her. The phrase first appeared in the writings of French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau in his book Confessions. However, he referred only to a great princess, without ever naming Marie Antoinette. And notably, he wrote it years before she even arrived in France. Still, the myth took root. At a time when the people of France couldn't afford bread, the image of a queen smugly suggesting they eat cake was powerful and infuriating. It became the perfect piece of propaganda, a weapon to enrage the poor and turn Marie Antoinette into the face of cruelty and indifference. In reality, she wasn't entirely blind to the suffering of the poor. Records show that she did participate in charitable efforts and supported hospitals and orphanages. But once the myth spread, the truth no longer mattered. The phrase, "let them eat cake," became a stain on her name and a rallying cry for a nation on the edge of revolution. Fact 5. A true icon of the fashion world. Marie Antoinette was one of the greatest fashion trendsetters of the 18th century. At the Palace of Versailles, she sparked a revolution, not with weapons, but with gowns and hairstyles. The queen adored opulent, multi-layered dresses like the famous robe à la polonaise, a style marked by its puffed skirts and dramatic volume. Her gowns were masterpieces adorned with colorful ribbons, delicate lace, and elaborate embroidery. It wasn't just fashion, it was theater, and every woman at court wanted to follow her lead. But Marie Antoinette didn't stop at clothing. Her hairstyles were just as revolutionary. She popularized the towering poof hairstyle, sometimes standing over a foot tall and decorated with feathers, pearls, and even miniature ships or gardens. This hairdo became a sensation, with aristocratic women spending hours, or even entire days, trying to replicate her look. Through fashion, she ruled with flair, dazzling some and enraging others. Her image became so powerful that it defined the elegance of a generation, even as France itself edged closer to collapse. Fact 6. Marie Antoinette and the tennis court oath. By June of 1789, France was teetering on the edge of political collapse. A deep divide had formed between the monarchy and the people, between privilege and poverty. In a desperate attempt to hold the kingdom together, King Louis XVI convened the Estates General, bringing together representatives from all levels of French society. But the commoners, mostly lawyers, farmers, and townspeople, quickly realized that their voices were being ignored. Frustrated by the king's resistance to reform, they broke away and gathered in a nearby indoor tennis court in Versailles. There they made a historic vow. They would not disband until a new and just constitution for France was established. This act became known as the Tennis Court Oath, and it marked the first formal stand against absolute monarchy in France. Though Marie Antoinette did not directly take part, the events unfolding around her palace signaled the beginning of the end for her world. The foundations of royal power were shaking, and she was standing right in the heart of it. Fact 7. She lived at the peak of luxury in Versailles. Marie Antoinette's life may have looked like a fairy tale, but it was a fairy tale woven with gold and silk. In the grand halls of Versailles, she lived in unmatched opulence. Her wardrobe contained hundreds of exquisite gowns, shoes, and hats, and she ordered a new outfit for nearly every day. She even had a personal fashion house near the palace to keep up with her ever-changing style. Her favorite amusement? A private countryside retreat called Petit Trianon. There she would dress as a shepherdess and play at living a simple rural life. But even this was a performance of luxury. The village was artificial, complete with man-made streams, fake cottages, and carefully placed ducks. Everyday life for the queen meant parties, theater nights, and endless entertainment. But while she danced beneath chandeliers, the people of France starved in the streets. Her lavish lifestyle became the symbol of everything that was wrong with the monarchy. To the public, she was no longer just a queen. She was the face of excess, the embodiment of royal indifference, and soon, one of the first targets of revolution. Fact 8. She was hated as the Austrian woman by French revolutionaries. Marie Antoinette was never fully accepted by the French people. Due to her country of birth, she was called the Austrian woman and seen as an enemy. The revolutionaries accused her of secretly maintaining ties between France and Austria and committing treason. The public viewed her extravagance and indifference as a symbol of the country's economic collapse. This hatred ultimately led her to the execution platform. Fact 9. From throne to scaffold, the tragic end of Marie Antoinette. Once the shining star of lavish banquets and silk gowns in Versailles, Marie Antoinette became the object of public hatred in the smoke of revolution. In 1793, she was arrested and accused of treason and being an enemy of the people. The queen no longer slept on a throne, but in a prison cell. One morning, she was taken through the streets of Paris. This time, no golden carriage, no applause. Her head was bare, her face weary, and she was surrounded by mocking crowds. On October 16, 1793, at the age of 37, she was executed by guillotine. The bright lights of Versailles had gone out, and the queen's fairy tale ended in blood. Fact 10. Her life lives on in films and books. The luxurious life, political downfall, and tragic end of Marie Antoinette have been so dramatic that for centuries they have inspired writers and filmmakers alike. Dozens of movies, documentaries, and novels have been created about her story. One of the most famous is Sofia Coppola's 2006 film, Marie Antoinette, starring Kirsten Dunst. This film vividly presents the Queen's youth, splendor, and loneliness in a fresh, modern style. Though Marie Antoinette has left the stage of history, she still lives on in the world of culture. Marie Antoinette, once a queen draped in silk, and in the end a symbolic victim of revolution. Her life reminds us that a throne is never permanent, but the voice of the people never falls silent. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to stay updated on new videos. See you in the next videos featuring great figures and unforgettable events in history. With the enigmatic veil, history becomes more fascinating.